Assalamu alaikum. From today onwards, I will start reading Islamic book. This is the first book I have purchased and I'll continue from this. The men around the Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Let's continue. Introduction. Man needs the light of his past experiences to brighten his present and future, and all the different segments of humanity which have done anything to make this world a better place to live and deserve our gratitude. But the most deserving of our gratitude are the prophets of God. Each one of them has, in his own time, presented a winsome example of his sublime conduct and moral behavior. If one was a model of endurance, others were embodiments of selfless sacrifice, fervor for the truth and oneness of God, submission to the will of the Lord, chastity and pity. In short, each of them was a lighthouse of guidance, showing the path of exalted behavior in one or the other walk of life every man has to tread in his sojourn on this earth. A character held out as an ideal or model for humanity, it must fulfill certain conditions before such a claim can be universally accepted. The first and the foremost test to which the character of such a guide should be put is historicity. Historicity means that the genuineness of the accounts of life and character of any man put forth as a perfect exemplar should proceed not from any fable or legendary tale, but from the reputed sources and methodical records of what we call history. Man is never disposed by his frame of mind to be deeply impressed by any happening, event or biography which he knows to be fictitious. For a lasting impression of any character, one needs the assurance that every detail of this life, saying and doing of such a personality is perfectly true and verifiable. Historical stories have, for that very reason, a greater appeal than the works of fiction. Another reason for the historicity of a character, particularly if it is intended to impart a lesson to others, is that no bedtime fable told to while away the hours of leisure can be deemed to hold up a model for emulation. Nobody can be expected to follow a mythical or imaginary character. It is absolutely essential that the journal of a life presented as a model of virtuous human conduct should be perfectly authentic in accordance with the criterion set for acceptance of an event as historical. We believe that this was the honor granted to Muhammad since he was the last of the line of prophets, bearer of the final and the ever-abiding message of God, and thus he was sent as a standard of virtue and goodness for the guidance of mankind to the end of time. Perfection is a test of an ideal life. Historicity of any character is, however, not the criterion of perfection, although it is absolutely essential to have solid and complete knowledge about the life and the conduct of a perfect guide and an ideal mentor. The life of Muhammad from his birth to death is before us like an open book. His companions knew him in full, and they also took care of to transmit whatever they knew about him to posterity. There was never a span of time, however small, that the Prophet ﷺ had spent in seclusion away from the gaze of his contemporaries. We know about his birth and childhood, his boyhood and youth, his trade and commerce, his behavior with his friends, his marriage, his participation in the battle of the Quraysh and the treaty thereafter, his earning the title of Al-Amin, the trustworthy, installation of the backstone of the Kaaba by him, his meditations and prayers in the cave of Hira, the coming of revelations, birth of Islam, his preachings and oppositions, by the Makkans. His wanderings in Taif were his ascensions to the heaven and the migration to Medina, his insertions and battles. The Treaty of Hudaybiyah concluded by him, his letters to the kings and rulers of surrounding countries, his farewell pilgrimage, the completions of revelations and his death. In short, there is nothing of his life that is not known to the world. All of it was put into writings. Even what was known to be ambiguous was also preserved by his followers so that the coming generations might themselves be able to decide what was acceptable or not. One more aspect of Prophet Muhammad life need attention. He was not always surrounded by his devoted followers. He spent the first 40 years of his life with Quraysh in Makkah. He had his business dealings with them, which is a sure test of one's honesty and trustworthiness. How he acquitted himself in these transactions when he was still a youth is illustrated by the fact that he owned the title of the Alamin or the trustworthy from the Makkans, even after he was favored with the revelation from the high. Even after he was favored with the revelation from on high, those who opposed his claim to prophethood and had such a trust in his honesty that they entrusted their valuable to his safekeeping. It is a well-known fact that Prophet ﷺ had to leave behind Ali on the occasion of his migration to Medina for returning several of these goods to their owners. The whole of Makkah had stood up against the Prophet ﷺ, boycotted and heaped invectives upon him, thrown rubbish and stones on him, made plans to kill him, accused him of being an enchanter and a poet and a lunatic. But none ever dared him his character and morals in question. Does not the claim to divine apostleship mean a claim to innocence and unblemished character? Would not a few instances of his immoral behavior have been sufficient to refute his claim to prophethood? Why was it that the Quraysh spent their wealth and put their own lives at stake, but they never framed any charge to blemish his character? Does this not prove that the Prophet ﷺ was as much above reproach in the eyes of this foes as he was to his followers? After the envoy of the Prophet ﷺ had delivered his message to the Byzantine Emperor Heraclius, the later called for Abu Sufyan, a sworn enemy of the Prophet ﷺ, who had been arraying his forces against him for the last 6 years, to tell him about the men who had dared to address him. An enemy was thus called to vouch for his bitterest foe whom he wanted to destroy at any cost. Abu Sufyan also knew that if he could somehow provoke the patience of the powerful emperor against his adversary, the Roman legions could devastate Medina in a couple of days. But this was the conversation that passed on between the two. Heraclius first demanded, "Tell me about his lineage amongst you." "It is pure," replied Abu Sufyan, "our best lineage." "Has any of his house made a similar claim earlier?" asked Heraclius again. "No," replied Abu Sufyan. "Did anybody possess sovereignty in his family?" This much for today, and we'll meet together.